We didn't plan to speak first today. Sometimes the room tells you when to be quiet. A thin stack of paper on a conference table can feel heavier than a coffin lid. And this one did. The date at the top mattered. The signatures mattered more. What followed mattered most. Here's where she begins. I learned my father had changed everything on a Tuesday afternoon, the kind that pretends to be ordinary. The attorney slid a folder across the table and kept his hands folded, as if that might soften what he was about to confirm. Elise will serve as administrator. He said, your interest will be held in a revocable trust. My stepmother didn't look at me. She smoothed the edge of the folder. Calm. Careful. It's for protection, she added, voice steady. Your father wanted stability. I felt heat climb my neck. Protection from what? Benjamin Klein cleared his throat. From volatility. From pressure. From mistakes. Elise controls the trust. I said, yes, he answered, per the codicil. 78 days before my father died. I knew the number before he finished the sentence. I'd memorized it on the drive over, like a bruise you keep touching to see if it still hurts. Elise finally met my eyes. You'll thank me later. I stood, chair scraping once, loud enough to earn a look from the receptionist through the glass. I wasn't there, I said. At the end, I wasn't allowed. She smiled. Small. He needed rest. We noticed how that word landed, and how it didn't explain anything. I gathered my coat and paused. I'm going home, I told them. I want my father's study unlocked. On the walk out. I opened the folder again. A second document sat beneath the codicil. Special power of attorney. The date matched. If this story stays with you, follow along. I'm still putting the pieces back where they belong. The house in Evanston smelled the same. Lemon cleaner and old wood. But it felt tighter, like it had learned how to hold its breath. Elise was already there when I walked in, standing at the kitchen counter with a mug of tea. She smiled before I put my bag down. You look tired. Long drive. I stopped for gas. I said, that's it. She nodded, as if that answered something else. I had the locks checked. Just routine. After everything. Everything hung between us. She lifted her mug, careful not to spill. I want Dad's study opened, I said. Today. Elise's tone stayed soft. There's nothing in there you need right now. Papers. Old drafts. He hated clutter. He hated locked doors. I said. She set the mug down. Naomi, let's not start like this. Start what? She took a breath. Slow. Practiced. Turning grief into suspicion. I walked past her anyway. The hallway felt longer than I remembered. The study door was shut. Keyhole empty. Elise. I called back. Where's the key? Footsteps. A pause. Benjamin has copies of anything important. I didn't ask about copies. She looked at the door, then at me. Your father asked for privacy. He didn't ask me, I said. I wasn't allowed near him. Silence. The kind that pretends to be kindness. She touched my arm. Light. We'll talk later. After things settle. I stepped back. Things already settled. Just not in my favor. That night, in my old room, I noticed my father's phone charger missing from the nightstand. The dust where it used to be was clean. Too clean. Benjamin Klein met me in his office the next morning. Same place, same chair. He looked older in daylight, like sleep had been rationed. You came early, he said, already opening a drawer. I couldn't sleep. I replied, I need copies of everything my father signed in the last 3 months. He paused, then nodded. A printer hummed. Paper slid out, warm. This one's standard, he said, tapping the top page. The codicil. I know. He hesitated before pulling the next sheet. This one came with it. Special power of attorney. The words sat there, clean and formal. The date was the same as the codicil. 78 days. This gives authority over company accounts. I said, limited, but real. Yes, to Adrian Cross. Benjamin folded his hands. Your father insisted? Said it would ease the transition. Did you draft it? No, he said. It came prepared. My throat tightened. Prepared by whom? He didn't answer right away. Looked at the window. Your father appeared lucid, cooperative. He signed during one of his better mornings. Who was with him? 2 witnesses, new staff, temporary. I gathered the papers. Did you ever speak to him alone? Benjamin's voice dropped. Not after that day. I stood. Then someone made sure you wouldn't. He didn't argue. The box was still on the top shelf of the hall closet, tucked behind winter scarves that smelled like cedar. I remembered it because my mother hated clutter and never labeled anything. This one had her handwriting anyway. Faint on the tape. Medical. Just that. I carried it to the bed and sat on the edge, lid in my lap. Inside were folders bent at the corners, a paperback she'd half finished, and a small pill organizer with days worn smooth. Some compartments were empty. Some weren't. Elise's voice drifted up from downstairs, low and controlled, talking to someone on the phone. I didn't listen. I didn't need to. I spread the papers out, lab results, appointment cards, a spiral notebook with pages torn out cleanly, not ripped. Someone had taken time. At the back, a list in my mother's hand. Medications, dosages, then a line through 2 of them. Heavy ink. Final. I turned the organizer over. The labels didn't match the list. One bottle carried a name I recognized from years later. After Dad's surgery. Strong. Not something she'd ever been prescribed together with the others. The door frame creaked. I looked up. Elise stood there, arms folded, watching the bed. You shouldn't go through that, she said. It only upsets you. I didn't know these were missing. I said, holding up the notebook. She stepped closer. Careful. Your mother was confused near the end. She was precise, I said. Even sick. Elise exhaled. I took care of her. Every day. You were in school. Your father was working. I know. I said, that's why you'd remember the doctor. Her eyes flicked to the nightstand. Back to me. Which one? I read the name from the last intact page. Susan Patel. Elise's mouth tightened. That was a long time ago. Not for me, I said. She turned away first. Doctor. Patel's office smelled like disinfectant and burnt coffee. She kept her hands folded on the desk, knuckles pale, as if she'd practiced holding them that way. I don't usually revisit old cases, she said, especially ones that ended badly. I brought what I found, I told her, sliding the notebook across. The pill organizer followed. It matches parts of your handwriting. The dates line up. She didn't touch anything at first. Her eyes stayed on the corner of the desk. Your mother was diligent, she said quietly. She asked questions. She wrote everything down. Then why did her medication change? Doctor. Patel finally looked at me. I raised concerns, more than once. And she had a caregiver who insisted your mother was refusing appointments. A pause, that she wanted comfort, not intervention. My stepmother, doctor. Patel nodded once. At the time, Elise presented herself as attentive, organized, calm. She said your father agreed. My father was never in those meetings. I know, she said. He was traveling. I left messages. Her chair creaked as she leaned back. When I did see your mother, she was sedated, not incapacitated, but slowed, suggestible. It made consent difficult. I felt my jaw tighten. Did you document that? I did, she said. Parts of it. Parts. Her shoulders dropped. I should have pushed harder. I didn't. I told myself the family knew best. I slid the notebook back into my bag. Did you change the prescriptions? No, she said quickly. I did not. Someone else managed the dosing. Silence settled. She reached for a tissue and stopped halfway. Embarrassed. I'm sorry, she said. For waiting. For not calling you. I stood. You're calling me now. She nodded, and this time she didn't look away. Here is the translation of Chapter 6 into English. Meticulously refined to ensure the logic of the timeline and the emotional weight of the story remain intact. I found Owen in the sunroom after dinner, sitting at the piano bench without playing. The cover was closed. His hands rested on his knees like he was waiting for a final judgment. Your mom says you're leaving tomorrow, he said, his eyes never leaving the wooden cover hiding the keys. I might. I answered. Depends. He nodded, a bitter smile touching his lips. She hates uncertainty. So do you. That earned a hollow laugh. He finally turned to face me. His eyes were bloodshot, not dramatic. Just exhausted. I heard them last night, he said. In the kitchen. Elise and Adrian. I stayed quiet, letting him find his own way through the words. She told him to stop panicking. Owen went on, his breath heavy. Said everything was handled, that Dad signed what mattered. He paused. She said the timing was perfect, that the medication adjustments kept things smooth. I felt my chest pull inward. Did she mention your name? Yes. Owen swallowed hard. She said I was the only reason, that this entire plan was meaningless if I didn't have a place in the Fletcher lineage. I took a step closer. Owen, you don't have to carry her guilt. You don't understand. Naomi. He shook his head, his voice trembling. I always thought I knew where I came from, but last night she admitted everything. She said she couldn't have children. Her biological child died at birth, long before she ever met your father. He looked directly at me, his eyes filled with a profound sense of brokenness. She said she adopted me in secret, then forged the medical records to trick my father into believing I was the result of an affair they'd had years ago. Dad believed I was his long-lost biological son, which is why he brought me into this house as his heir. He never knew. I am a complete stranger to his blood. The space between us turned cold. This detail explained everything why Elise had to isolate my father, why she feared a DNA test after his death, and why she needed the codicil to solidify Owen's position before the truth could ever surface. I reached into my bag and pulled out the worn book. The cover was frayed, the spine bent. My mother gave you this, I said. You were 9 years old. You cried when she wrote your name inside the front cover. Owen stared at the book, stunned, then closed his eyes. She was the only one who didn't look at me like a chess piece. She knew I wasn't Dad's son, didn't she? My mother was very observant, I said softly. But she chose to love you anyway, because you were just a child caught in a web of lies. She taught you that song, the one you never finish. Owen's hand shook as he touched the cover. Elise says I owe her everything. That without her, I'm nobody. I let the book rest on the bench. You don't owe anyone your name. Owen, especially not when that name was built on the erasure of my mother and a lie fed to my father. He stood up, slow but steadier. I need time, he said, but I'm not blind anymore. As I walked out, I heard him strike a single key. Just one note, clean. Then silence returned, but this time it didn't feel so heavy. The conference room was smaller than the one downtown, which felt intentional. A round table, water glasses already sweating. Elise sat with her back straight, hands folded, the picture of patience. Adrian arrived late and avoided the chair beside her. Benjamin Klein nodded to me. We're here to resolve administration issues without escalation. Elise smiled at that word. Escalation sounds dramatic. I placed the folder in front of me and didn't open it yet. We'll keep it simple. Adrian shifted. His phone buzzed once. He silenced it without looking. Elise leaned in. Everything your father signed was valid. He was lucid, cooperative, grateful. She glanced at Adrian. He wanted order. Order came with paperwork. I said, 2 documents. Same date. Benjamin looked down. The codicil is on record. And the special power of attorney, I added. Executed the same morning. Elise's eyes flicked, then settled. That was to help during a difficult period. Adrian cleared his throat. Limited authority. Limited. I agreed. Enough to move funds. He stiffened. Within compliance. I slid the first page across the table. These transfers weren't domestic. Elise laughed softly. You're reaching. I turned the page. The accounts weren't disclosed to the company controller. Adrian's foot tapped. Elise didn't look at him. Benjamin frowned. These dates align with the final weeks. They do, I said. During the medication adjustments. Elise's voice cooled. You're accusing me of managing my husband's care. I'm stating the sequence. Adrian spoke quickly. The authority was lawful. Lawful doesn't stop an audit, I said. An inquiry into offshore movement triggers review. Federal. The room went quiet. The hum of the lights felt louder. Elise leaned back. You wouldn't. Adrian stood. We need a break. No, I said. We need clarity. He turned to Elise. Eyes sharp now. You told me the risk was civil. It is, she snapped. For you, he said. Not for me. Owen's chair scraped. He hadn't spoken yet. Mom, he said. Stop. She waved him off. Everything I did was for you. His voice stayed even. You did it because you were afraid of being nobody without the name. Adrian exhaled. Long. I'll cooperate. Elise stared at him, stunned. I closed the folder. Then we're done here. No one argued. We stepped into the hallway together. Owen stopped near the water cooler and leaned his shoulder against the wall like his legs had given up first. She's going to say I was manipulated, he said. That I didn't understand. I shook my head. You understood enough. Benjamin came out with a stack of papers, eyes tired. I'll draft the revisions. The trust will revert to the prior structure. Owen looked at him. Remove my name. Benjamin blinked. You're listed as a contingent beneficiary. Remove it. Owen repeated. All of it. Elise appeared at the door, voice sharp. You don't get to punish me by pretending you're noble. Owen didn't turn. I'm not punishing you. She stepped closer. Then why do this? He faced her. Finally. Because I don't want what you built by lying. Her mouth opened, closed. No sound came out. I handed Owen the book. He pressed it to his chest for a second, then tucked it under his arm. I'll figure out the rest. He said, somewhere else. We walked toward the elevator. The doors closed without ceremony. No speeches. Just the soft drop of the floor numbers passing. One by one. The cemetery was quiet in a way that felt earned. No wind. No voices carrying from the road. I knelt and brushed a few leaves off the stone, slower than I needed to be. I brought the book with me, the one my mother had given Owen. I rested it at the base for a moment, fingers still on the cover. The pause mattered. Then I picked it back up and stood. I didn't lose you, I said out loud. The words came easy. I just didn't know where to put what you left me. Later, at the station. Owen stood with his bag at his feet. He didn't look lighter, just steadier. For now, he said, nodding toward the tracks. For now. I agreed. I handed him the book. He took it without ceremony. Like something returned to the right shelf. On the drive back. The city didn't feel like a challenge anymore. The building with my father's name on it passed by. Unchanged. That was fine. What changed was quieter. Naomi Fletcher didn't need to prove anything. She didn't need to manage anyone else's fear. The space she made was hers, and she knew how to keep it. If you're still here, stay with the story a little longer. There's more coming, and it's worth hearing. We watched her walk away without hurry. Not triumphant, just clear.